Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I recently went to the thrift store and I was lucky enough to find yet another vintage blanket. A few months ago I created a video using a different vintage floral blanket that I turned into a long coat. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link that down below for you. But in one of my recent trips to the thrift store, I was lucky enough to find a similar blanket but just in a different floral pattern. I did mention in my previous video that I wanted to create a short version of a blanket coat as well. So that is what we'll be turning this blanket into today. So let's get into the video. So my first step before tackling any sewing project is sketching out the design I have in mind. So for this specific coat, I know that I want the fit to be an oversized fit. I do like to have a bit of extra room underneath my jacket to be able to layer different pieces. Even though this coat is going to be in a boxier oversized fit, I would like it to look a bit more classic and timeless as well. So I would like to add some buttons for the fastening instead of a zipper, as well as a collar. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go for an oversized collar or just a regular one. I guess I'll decide that along the way. As for the sleeves, if you know me, you know I love a puff sleeve, but since this fabric is a bit thicker, I think I will just add an elastic cuff at the bottom just to have that balloon effect, without having to bunch up the thick fabric at the shoulder. So that's everything I can think of in terms of the design of the coat and what I would want it to look like. So let's get into cutting the pattern and the fabric and putting it together. So I've just created the front and back panel pattern pieces. I decided to just save on some paper and add the back neckline to the front since the shape is more or less the same. And I'll show you a little trick that I do for the sleeve patterns once I cut out the front and back panel pieces on the fabric. So I just pinned the front and back pieces together after just cutting them out, just to see if the shape was okay and the overall fit was the way I wanted it to be. And I think I really like the shape. I'm thinking of maybe it would look better as a boxier cropped coat, not a coat, a jacket. Not so sure. I think this would be cute, but I also like this length as well. Comment down below which length you prefer. Overall, I'm really happy with the shape. I think I want to do an oversized collar, not too much of an oversized collar, just something that could work as a statement on this coat. So I don't think the pockets would work as well at the top since the collar will be there. It'll look a bit imbalanced, I think. So we'll see what the pocket placement will look like once we cut out the collar. But the next steps is to cut out the sleeves, make the pattern for the collar and attach it properly, and then cut out the pattern pieces for the pocket and decide where the pockets will be. So I pinned the front and the back piece flat onto the fabric just so that I can clearly see the shape of the shoulder here. So this arch right here is going to be the top of the sleeve pattern, and then with a water erasable pen I'll just mark out this shape right here and measure and mark out the rest of the sleeve and cut it directly onto the fabric. just cut up the sleeves, and now the next step is to cut the collar pieces. So I have my two pattern pieces right here. This is the main collar piece, and then there's the collar stand. It's always best to cut your collar on the fold of the fabric, just so that you don't have to attach it on the back and there's a visible seam on the back of the collar. You also need two pieces of the collar stand on the fold as well to better attach it onto the neckline of the jacket. So I've just attached the collar with my serger along the edges, but I kept the neckline part open just so that we can turn it inside out. And then once we've turned the collar inside out, we're just gonna press the edges with an iron just so that they're crisp and not as bubbly. After ironing down the main collar piece, I added a top stitch on the hems just to keep it in place. Then I pinned the two collar stands on either side of the collar and sewed around the neckline like this. Next, it was time to attach the collar to the jacket. I folded the hems of the collar stand and pinned it in place around the neckline of the bodice. Since this fabric is very bulky, I sewed one side of the collar stand first and then the other. I just attached the collar to the body of the jacket, and I absolutely love how it came out. I'm really happy I ended up doubling the collar because it came out a lot more structured, and I feel like the way it looks, it makes a statement and it really adds to the design of the jacket. So the next step is to add the sleeves and then finally attach the side pieces together. Before I sew the sides together, I had an idea that I think will take the design of the jacket just a little step further. I really love when jackets have that little, like a little button fastening around the wrist of the sleeve. So I'm thinking I want to make a little tab and then add a button so that it could help with the ballooning of the sleeve. The sleeve is already an oversized fit, so just cinching it in at the waist will create a little bit of a puff sleeve, like an illusion of a puff sleeve without it being ruched anywhere or with any elastic. For these little cuff pieces, I measured a comfortable length around my wrist and took some of the remnants of the blanket to create 4 rectangles. I then take 2 of those rectangles and sewed them together to create a structured cuff detail for our sleeves. Alright, so I just attached the strap with pins onto the cuff of the sleeve just to see how that would look like. And I'm not really happy with the shape of it, to be really honest. I was planning on ironing it and then top stitching the strap just so that it looks more finished, but I'm not really happy with the shape. I don't like that it's really narrow. I do prefer how the strap looked like before I sewed it together, so I guess my seam allowance calculations this time were completely wrong. So since this fabric doesn't really fray, I'm just gonna go ahead and top stitch the 2 pieces of the strap together, wrong sides facing. So that way we can have a thicker strap that will go around the cuff. Next, it was time to determine the pocket placement and the size. I wanted the pockets to match the size of the jacket, so I made them oversized as well. And then top stitched the pockets onto the jacket. Finally, it was time to add the buttons and the buttonholes, and this jacket is done. So I hope you enjoyed this video and sewing along this floral blanket jacket with me. As I'm filming this right now, it's still February and very much still cold winter time, but I'm very excited for the spring to come along and to be able to wear this jacket every single day. If you do end up making one as well, I would love to see it. So tag me on Instagram at Moderne Prairie with your photo so that I can see it. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you would like a pattern for this jacket. I'm currently trying to learn how to digitize patterns and to put them into PDFs. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.